I just went for biofeedback because I wanted to know how I'm doing compared to the last time I did it 5 years ago. Plus, I've had a bizarre attack from another pile of poo, and I just wanted to clear it and clear my energy field. And she just kept saying, "How is it that you've lived through 3 attacks on your life, that you're still in the very top of the umbrella of healthy people when you've been through what you've been through and you're as old as you are? I'm dealing with," she said, "people decades younger than you that are nowhere near the top of the umbrella. Your commitment to healing is astounding." She said, "I have never seen this."
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation. And, more than ever these days, I'm reminded of it's all about perspective. In some regards, the world is burning. In others, the world is glowing. It just kind of depends on where you look and what you focus on. And when it comes to glowing, I think a big, big factor is, and you know this, we focus on this here on Inspired, is our health, spiritual, physical, mental, in all areas. And I want to bring on a dream team from C60 Evo, our dear friends, Chris Burris and Miss Patty Greer. It's so good to have you back.
Hello, John.
Thank you.
Always great to see you. I know, Patty, you're tuning in from beautiful Colorado. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Chris, you are tuning in from Texas via
Houston.
Houston, yeah, but via Singapore. You just came back from beautiful Singapore, right?
Yeah, and so I don't know if your audience is familiar. You probably are of this concept of the blue zones, right? These are regions around the world where people tend to live longer, and Singapore is actually the first blue zone 2.0, meaning that the government intentionally put things in place so that they could kind of conform to the strategies that seem to have worked in the other blue zones. By the way, they weren't really strategies. They were just ways of life, and they've done that. So I think they incentivize with tax benefits people to live closer to their relatives, which is what a novel concept. And then they have green space everywhere. So it's kind of a hot country, but there's covered walkways everywhere. There's trees. I kind of joked in the airport, which is amazing. It's like the second most beautiful airport on the planet. And I understand why. But I was joking as we were kind of leaving it. I was like, hey, that hotel next to the airport has a tree growing in it. I know people who could fix that. but this is obviously done on purpose. And so those aspects were kind of amazing to see.
You're speaking of the blue zones. Christine and I, my wife and I, had a dinner not too long ago, fascinating dinner with Mario Martinez, one of the world most renowned blue zone researchers. And it was quite incredible. The things that he found are kind of mostly contrary to what most people think. But longevity, that's a big subject in what you do and what you guys are discovering with the C60 Evo. I just want to open today. I've had such clarity lately on my own journey, and if you don't mind, I'd like to share a little bit. So when I was first approached a few years ago, and when I first started hearing about this molecule C60, that's how it came to me first. I'm a natural skeptic, so I'm like, okay, let me find out what this is. When something is starting to get a little bit of hype, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. So I did research. First thing I did is I texted and called all our friends that are like incredible health practitioners, healers, doctors, scientists, the real ones. And like clockwork, all of them came back, say, yeah, this is the real deal. This is great. Like there was not even a hint of skepticism about this. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And I started taking it. And I shared this from the beginning of my journey. It was subtle. It was very subtle. Like I felt it, but it wasn't like a big boom. But boy, the long-term positive effects now, it's like compounding. It's like almost like compound health interest. Okay. So the longer that you're on it, the more the positive effects compound. And I noticed this because my days are currently, and have been for this entire year, very active, like from morning to night. And I'm not complaining, I'm just saying very active, both brain, physical, lots of different activities, different projects. I need to be on my game all day. And I'm just like, okay, the Evo, the C60 Evo, this is no joke. The compound effects over the last 1.5 years or so, just, I'm blown away. I'm blown away. And I'm saying this while our 15-year-old golden retriever is sitting here, and we were out for our third walk today, and he's still going. So this is a real and honest review, and I just wanted to share it because it's become so clear to me lately, and I see it in the people around me too. So thank you both. Now, here's my first question, Miss Patty. Why do you think that in the health arena, in the natural health arena, in the alternative health arena, this is still such a small subject when it should be much bigger?
I think the word is suppression. One word. But we're also breakthrough. We are a breakthrough remedy, kind of like I used to say CBD was 15 years ago. People immediately blamed it to be a pot plant and stay away, but it's flax. It's not even pot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in that similar thing where people just don't understand the science. And a lot of people that talk about C60 don't realize that there's a difference with industrial grade C60 and the great stuff, which is ESS60, only made in one lab in Houston, Texas, Chris and Robert's lab, my partners. Hey! And Chris looks like a kid, but he's been doing this 34 years. And he's mid-50s with a mohawk and gorgeous skin because he takes it regularly. I just had the internet guy here at my house who astounded me because the company sold from stupid people to the new evolution of consciousness. So the guy, he says, I'm going to go look at your system. And I watched him go out to his truck 4 times. When he came back in, he said, I don't know how your internet was even working because they forgot to do any waterproofing and all your wires were rusted and you were lucky. And I'm like, I'm lucky to have you. So he cleans it all up and then he comes in the house and he just rocks my TV. I've got this 56-inch thing that hides under a blanket unplugged for 5 years I've been here. And so anyway, he hooked it up and he goes, yeah, you automatically have 400 channels. I'm just sitting here in heaven waiting to offer him his gift, his thank you gift, because I know it's coming. I was so grateful. And so I'm walking around in my little cute short dress, moving quickly while he's doing this because I had a show in 20 minutes. And so I realized that all you have to do is ask nicely and nice things happen. And I think a lot of what we put out comes back. And the fact that Chris and I and Robert are putting out a product that's changing people's lives and your dog around the world for the last 6 years, without a doubt, all I've seen is, God, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So what a fun thing it is to do. And I'm 72. I'm rocking this little dress. And I said to the guy, listen, I sell an anti-aging product. I'm 72 and I want to help you. And he goes, you're what? So it was really kind of fun. We had that moment. I enjoy, when I was 70, I hid in a closet because I was like, oh man, that's old. Now I'm like all the way to 600 years old. I'm going to be like rocking my age and bragging and probably looking like this because I put the facial serum on every morning and night and I take the Evo. So for me, I sat him down after. I was so grateful. And I said, I've got 15 minutes till I start a show. So I'm going to talk really fast. But I'm really sorry your wife died in her 20s. I don't know why, and I don't ask questions. But I want to give you a gift because you are wonderful. And he goes, well, remedies. He said, I'm really scientific. I only kind of listen to peer-reviewed, real scientists. And I said, God, I don't blame you. My partners, Anyway, so I raved and it was really fun because after he looked it up and it was like reading while I'm talking, he said that I'd be really honored. And I said, great. And of course I hand him a spoon, point him to the kitchen. And I said, start now. because he's dealing with depression and exhaustion and pain, all the things that, people say, wow, it really helped. And I don't know how he's doing now 2 hours later, but it feels so good to change the frequency of people's consciousness. And when I say that, and I loved how you began with physical, mental, spiritual, when you clear the mitochondria in your brain, there's 2 million of these little powerhouses in every cell of your brain. That's a lot. When you've got this sponge that goes in and sucks out all the toxicity in the mitochondria, that's a lot of change in your mental, physical, and spiritual mind, because your mind is shifting to a higher frequency. And I think we speak frequency very openly because I work in energy, and Chris works in science, and you
Same
work.
thing, actually.
It is. It is, but it's not scientism.
I know.
So that's the difference. We work in real science, and we kind of watch other people talk about, snake oil, whatever. But it's like, why don't you tick it on a spoon, and then we'll talk in a minute. So I warned the guy that it's real olive oil. Do you like olive oil? Because you got to like the good stuff. And he goes, you're kidding? I don't do a day without. So I was like, this comes from Cyprus, not Costco. So he's really excited. He puts it in his mouth and he just rolls his eyes. And he goes, now that's some good olive oil. And I said, wait till you see the effects of olive oil and ESS 60, which is pure C60, ESS 60. It's the human and pet form that is so superior to the industrial grade that Chris and Robert also sell for batteries, tires, ink, photocells. We're not going to put that in our body, but the evolution of the C60 industry is what C60 Evo is about. That's our name, is the evolution of the industry. And even people like you, picky, you know that it's doing a great job. And I just watch you. You never change. You haven't aged a minute. You're like one of the cutest guys on YouTube by far. And I love working with you because
making me blush here, Miss Patty.
I know you're married and I'm not flirting, but really there's something in cuteness, which is the innocence of goodness. That's what appeals to me. And when I see people and I see goodness, my sample comes out of my purse. So
that's funny.
I'm a walking promoter, but it's because my mind is so on fire and I never get tired until the minute I collapse at 9, 10, last night 11. I stay on fire all day because I start my day, I make my morning coffee, and I don't want to forget it. So I mix in the MCT coconut oil, really love it. And while it's mixing and kind of blending with the organic butter and local honey, and, I make a buffet of my coffee, I take a tablespoon of the C60 Evo olive oil, which just makes me kind of unbearable around slow people.
So you're the kind of that's going to go in the morning and just let's go, let's talk, most people are not like that. I hear you, but for people like you and I, there's no slow morning, right?
No. There's no slow afternoon either. And I really love it. And I love what it's done for my brain, because my brain is challenged by humanity. And by, being a whistleblower is one of the most underestimated jobs in history. And in a year or two, you think it's 5 to 10. I think it's 6 months to 2 years when everybody's going to have to accept the reality that America's finally improving the entire world, because we're no longer dealing with the old ways of 100 years, hundreds of years. But really, the last 10 years have been absolute darkness. And people are still protesting in my little town, protesting evolution. So I feel pretty alone here, but my life is phone and internet. But every time I go out in public, my kids that are in their 40s early, they say the same thing to me, Mom, all of my friends are like those people carrying signs, don't say anything about everything you know.
Yeah, that's never worked for me. Our kids, when we would go to some, school function or some fall fest, whatever at school, they would sometimes come up and say, Dad, just for once, can you be normal? I'm like, I'm sorry, kid, I'll be me. That'll never be normal, but you're just going to have to deal with that. Now they're very grateful
Yeah.
Of course, you know how it is. When you stick out like a sore thumb, and when your kids are like, embarrassed. I never cared, but I get it. I get it.
I prefer to say stick out like a bright light.
Yeah, that's more like it. That's more like it. Chris, like I said earlier, this entire supplement industry is all about noise. And then there's some signal, and that signal is actually fantastic. And like Miss Patty said, I'm such a such a nerd when it comes to this. I really only want the best of the best of the best. Like in people, in the stuff that we eat and take. That's just how I roll. And you guys are really it. And and this is, you could say I'm biased now. You guys are biased. Okay, you could say that, but there's tons of people who experience the same thing or even better than what I have, or who come from a much worse place. I didn't start in a bad place. Many people start in a bad place and they get to really good. Why do you think that, from your standpoint, there's still so little talk about this? Like, it should be much louder, honestly.
Well, first I have to start with, I'm a little jealous. I've never been called cute. Patty has never called me cute, not even once. So I'm just, I'm
He's
still
right
waiting.
to slug me.
And I want to piggyback, John, off of your testimonial, kind of this compounding effect, because we often get this, and this is a testimonial that's right off of Google. Roxana left it. She said, I got my subscription back. I canceled my subscription after a few weeks because I didn't think I had seen concrete results. Boy, was I ever wrong. Aches and pains came back. By the way, we're not making any claims. Just assume this will not happen for you. Brain fog, not sleeping well. Well, we can accept that. I can't wait to receive C60 Evo so I can start again. And this time I will not be canceling again. It's a wonderful product and I highly recommend it. I also love their customer service. Cassandra was amazing. By the way, our customer service has like 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. They are absolutely amazing. And that is something that we do see from time to time, is people get on the product. It can be subtle and they kind of don't really recognize what's going on until the cliff that happens when they stop taking the product. And then we're like, oh, now it's really obvious what was going on positively. In terms of this not being out there, I think there are a couple of factors. One is the profound impact this has on so many things, right? We're talking about it's olive oil. It's ESS60 and olive oil. It's an oil and it has all of these profound effects. And of course, people's brains are immediately going to go to snake oil. Like that's just where that's where mine went the first time too. It's after this time of looking at the research and seeing these consistent testimonials, in your case, experiencing it yourself, you start to get on the other side of it. But it's so broad that it can be hard to market. It might be better if we came on your show and said, the only thing we do is we make you focus and give you energy. And if that's all we ever said, maybe that would be a better strategy, right? But it really just has this profound impact. And again, we think it's because it's working at the subcellular level, right? At the level of the mitochondria. I love to kind of compare and contrast. You've got supplements out there that will brag and exclaim that they work at the cellular level. And that's actually really good. There are supplements that don't even work at the cellular level. We believe through our BOSS theory, that buffering oxidative stress system theory, that we're working at the subcellular level, at the level of the mitochondria. So I think that's one, right? Like it's a marketing that puts it in a kind of marketing never land. And the other is there is no longer any room for intellectual property. So for patents related to the molecule as it's going into different applications. And that's one of the key things, we could say big pharma, but even companies that maybe aren't participating in big pharma that are interested in delivering value, it's harder to go back to their investors and say, hey, we want to take this molecule. We can't control it. Right, we can't get any patents on it. Like, there's nothing. But we think it could add value. Like, just not many companies are willing to take that risk, and so that really leaves it on Patty and I. And thank you for your help in getting this message out. But I think that's why it's not in the mainstream. I'm also going to comment, because you said you reached out to people, kind of experts that you knew. You have a nice network because they actually knew about the molecule. There are so many, I go to conferences and there are so many people who just have never heard of it at all. And then if they ever hear of it without, again, the right introduction, without enough information, access to the papers, they're just like, yeah, again, that sounds like snake oil. Okay, well, let's dig in. And you just don't always have that time. So you have a very interesting network around you.
We do, and we're very thankful. Like I said, some of the most excellent people in their fields, and also humans. So there's a level of trust, and they've all tried it, and they've also shared their personal experiences, and it's just like a thumbs up. And then we talked about this in our previous shows. This is an extraordinary thing. Remote viewers have viewed this molecule, and that's a blind thing, so they don't know what they're viewing. Remote viewers just get a random number that's associated, and then they view it, and they have seen, the testimonials, we'll link to the previous videos where people can actually see what they shared, which was incredible. It's almost like it's a thing from a different planet or from the future almost. I'm here. I'm just throwing this out wildly. Okay. This is a wild theory. This is not rooted in any kind of science. It's just intuitive. I think this might help with some things that people currently don't have any solutions for yet. So where they think there's nothing that I know, because maybe they have done something that was very new, very novel, and was very destructive. And I now think this might help with that. And that's all I'm going to say. I can't go further than that. But that's just me intuitively speaking. Please don't take my word for it. I'm not making any claims. This is just intuition. I'm just seeing incredible things that I didn't think were possible. So should we maybe at this point play Christmas in August here and give a few bottles away, shall we? Because you guys have extended Christmas throughout the whole year for our viewers. So we're going to give away 3 bottles, and thank you for that. Really appreciate it. From people that commented and shared about their experience or who wanted to experience it. And so the first winner is Zach 715. Congratulations, Zach. Please do us a favor. Send an email to hello, the word hello, at C60Evo.com and put Miss Patty in the subject line, and then let her know you're a winner. Use your handle so she knows, and also include your name and address so they know where to send it. Zach, congratulations. Okay, who is here? Christopher Nixon, 439. Hold on, here we go. Christopher Nixon, same thing. Send an email to hello@c60evo.com. We're going to put the instructions in the description. And then we have Melissa K8385. Congratulations, Zach, Christopher, and Melissa. You each won a bottle, and I can't wait to hear how it's working for you guys. Let us know once you receive it. And again, thank you, Miss Patty and Chris, for making this happen, allowing for our viewers to experience it like that. Miss Patty, you come from the energy side, spiritual side, UFO side, the original, not the current UFO scene.
UFOism.
Yeah, but from a spiritual standpoint, it's a very kind of a touchy-feely subject when you bring a supplement or a substance in connection with spiritual experiences. But do you feel that with the Evo that it helps you, or that you feel deeper connection in prayer? And I would be curious to know why, if you feel that you think that is.
Absolutely. And I just went for biofeedback because I wanted to know how I'm doing compared to the last time I did it 5 years ago. Plus, I've had a bizarre attack from another pile of poo, and I just wanted to clear it and clear my energy field. And she just kept saying, "How is it that you've lived through 3 attacks on your life, that you're still in the very top of the umbrella of healthy people when you've been through what you've been through, and you're as old as you are? I'm dealing with," she said, people decades younger than you that are nowhere near the top of the umbrella. Your commitment to healing is astounding. And she said, "I have never seen this. I won't even under exaggerate. I've never seen this. And I've given her gifts of Evo, and I'm not sure if she takes it, but she knows what I take. And she just kept exclaiming. And in my, so that's kind of a spiritual thing. But what she said to me was, by the end of 2.5 hours, $500, she said, the punchline is, you have really strong spiritual guides. I mean, you have had such protection that you're still alive, number one, but that you're sitting here this healthy. You lived through 2 hip replacements and you flew through it. And I mean, nobody even knows that I lived through that last year because I walk great.
If you hadn't shared it, we wouldn't have seen it.
No. And 5 days after my first surgery, because I said to my surgeon, I'm off the drugs. Thank you so much for all those pills. My friends need it, but I don't like pain pills. Without your permission, I'm going back on the Evo. And I know that you haven't taken a bottle of it, because even the doctors, my skin doctor who just says, I've never seen anybody heal like you. And I watch scars 5 days a week, 7 hours a day. I can't believe your scars. And they're this long, from hip replacements. So all my doctors have just been, and I'm sitting there like, can I please give you a bottle? But because they're stuck in that old system,
maybe if you can fill it up in one of the bottles that looks like what they're used to, so it looks more like what they're used to, they would probably, but that's the psychology there. If it comes from one of their brands, if it comes from one of their trusted partners, the ones that throw them the big conferences with the vacations and the comped everything, that's where it needs to come from.
But again, talking spiritually, people that are in a frequency of healing, people that choose consciousness, choose C60 Evo. It's like effortless for conscious people to say, I like what you have. I like looking at you and Chris. I like it that you guys are really kind and generous.
I think the cute is the word that you were going to attribute to both of us.
He wants so much for me to come. His wife is from Panama. I'm telling you, I would not
Chris is fishing. Come on. Chris is fishing. They give him something.
Yeah, I'm real careful with married men. But yeah, I'm careful, period, in this world. But the word intuition, I think, is what I always say about the molecule. And the molecule won the Nobel Prize in 1996 for excellence in almost every application tested. And it was for industrial grade. Tires, photocells, ink, batteries. Who's going to put that in their body? We're not. So all of a sudden, people started calling Chris and Robert at the lab saying, how much should we take? And they're like, no, we don't have that discussion. And so in 2012, their lab, not anybody else on Earth, provided this product, C60 Evo. It wasn't Evo at the time. It was just good olive oil and ESS60, the molecule from their lab, only from their lab, was what was delivered to this test. And it was on toxicity. They wanted to know it was going to kill people because there's people that are interested now. And this is 13 years ago. So they tested our product and they came out absolutely astounded. Not only not toxic, but these test subjects, Wistar rats, lived 90% longer than the control group. And they died without any tumors for the first time in Wistar rat lab testing history.
So that's what I was going to ask. This has never happened before, right? With anything else?
No, and it's tens of points higher. 90% life extension. The others are like 30% if you starve yourself to death diet or you do all these whatever, this is like this and this is all it takes. A spoon, or as my nerd partner, who's cute, does.
Yes.
She threw it in, Chris. She threw it in. It was a subtle, cute thrown in there very naturally.
Yeah, I want points with the lab. But the good thing is we're partners and we have points with each other because I bring the woo-woo spirit and they bring the science, not scientism. So it's the easiest thing. I wrote them this morning because we're all in this gratitude hour where we're saying to each other, this is really good. We really love working together because we do it right. We do it consciously, and none of us are liars. So, in a world like today, when somebody's as woo out there and as much of a whistleblower as I've been for 20 plus years, and you for however long, it's really hard. I will not deny that I have watched the worst of the worst people do things to me, and luckily, I'm at the point where it doesn't affect me on a mental level because I look at them as peons, people that are just evil. They're just peons. But my health is most important. And the fact that my biofeedback was so extremely good on all these different levels when I've been through what I've been through, the only thing I take is Evo. And I used to take a whole line of supplements, which cost a lot more money. Each bottle you pay for and you take them every day. I don't take any of them. I take 2 shots of Evo and I go all day. I never get sick. And of course, Chris makes me say, but that probably won't happen to you. It's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C in a lab test, but peer-reviewed, it's only 125 times more powerful than vitamin C. That's good enough for me. Either of those numbers is highly impressive. And so I've got my friends, my family, now my internet guy. We're all on Evo. He just started, but I bet you, I gave him my phone number, that I'm going to hear from him saying in a day or two, wow, thank you. And my friends and your friends that get the complimentary bottle, there is a method to our madness. Not only do we want to help people be at their best, mentally, physically, spiritually, but they typically come back for more. And then once they realize, wow, I don't have to buy 9 supplements. I don't have to take these pain medications. And I'm not saying that for anybody other than myself, because we have to be mindful. But a lot of people are saving lots of money just taking Evo.
Well, and that's a big difference too, is when you understand where we are, what we're dealing with, what the environmental stressors are and the toxins and whatever, then you got to preload, not wait for the problem to show up. So you're preemptively working, and that's the investment. And I'm always saying, if we all do our jobs right, we're going to work ourselves straight out of a job, because sometime in the future that won't be necessary any longer because we'll function optimally again. But right now it is. And right now, here we are, we're all doing our best so we can help each other, walk each other home, as Ram Dass said, walk each other home to that beautiful place. Chris, as a scientist, I know this is sort of, scientists have their dreams about what would be the dream research, the dream study that we could pull off. And we have interesting people watching. So sometimes there's incredible collaborations that happen behind the scenes when a wish is expressed or when a vision is expressed. What would you love to do? Love to study and research and see the effects of Evo if you had like a blank check?
Yeah, I'd have to. So one is, how interesting would it be to do a longevity study? Like, that would just absolutely be fascinating. We know it'll never happen, right? Because if an average human lives 90% longer, the average human will live to 152. And that's like, if your mind is like mine, that was like, oh, the oldest living human at 152. No. The bell curve is around 152. That means that lots of people are getting into their 200s, et cetera. So that study will never happen. And absolutely would be fascinating. It's a great question, because the way that I would approach the answer, and I haven't spent any time really thinking about it, would be, what is the thing that if we were to solve it, that would deliver the most value to the most number of people? So I'd want to dig in and really kind of understand that. And I'll be honest, like, we're just pontificating here. Is it something we're going to dream? Like, we can't make claims about inflammation, but if we were kind of looking to address the diseases of inflammation and see if we have positive impacts there, your mind goes to the classic diseases of aging, which are Alzheimer's, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, cancer. And, as I think about it in that perspective, I'd love to do a study on Alzheimer's, because in all the conversations I've had, and I've done a little research on the subject, Alzheimer's is the most terrifying disease, right? Like, it may not kill the most people, but more people are afraid of Alzheimer's than any of the other kind of four horsemen. And so what a great impact that we could have there. And so, yeah, that would be the research that I'd want to go into.
And follow-up question, you are investing a lot of, company resources back into research and studies. What's upcoming and what's happening right now? What's interesting?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've done some kind of bog standard studies, they're expensive and they're important, and we've published them, right? So most supplement companies do not do research. Even fewer publish the research that they actually do. So we published a paper back in June of last year and then May of this year. And we've invested in more kind of bog standard, like our last check was $150,000. Like, these are expensive studies. The next one that I'm most excited about, and I'll give you some framing for it. So I was having a conversation with a guy who uses our product in his practice. And he said, Chris, I don't care if you're male, female, pre-surgery, post-surgery, cardiovascular disease, or otherwise healthy, your product will help people with elevated hsCRP, and I'll talk about what that is in just a second. We'll take it from an elevated number into a normal range in 4 to 8 weeks. Additionally, they're seeing a 20 to 60% improvement in HRV, so that's heart rate variability, and sleep with the clients that are on the product. He actually went on to say that we just believe it should be something that should be in our break room, right? So he works with a big company, and they actually just provide it in the break room. So that has launched us into doing an hsCRP study. What is hsCRP? It stands for high sensitivity C-reactive protein. It's most closely associated with cardiovascular disease. So you keep an eye on that number to understand what's your cardiovascular risk. That's one of the ways to assess your cardiovascular risk. It's also apparently, because I learned this after the fact, associated with cancer. In the case, in this particular case, the patient was at 9, had an hsCRP of 9, and we brought it down into 0.9 in 4 to 8 weeks. I later had a conversation with an oncologist who shared that at 9, we assume you have cancer until we prove otherwise. Right? Like, that's what a dramatic number that is. And I always like to throw this back to one of, and this is the lowest level of test, but it's interesting and kind of related, which is that they did a Petri dish study, where they had cancer cells and healthy cells in this Petri dish. They would introduce an anti-cancer agent, which is in fact a poison. The goal is to poison the cancer cells before the healthy cells. In the presence of the C60 molecule, there was increased efficacy of that anti-cancer agent against the cancer cells and increased protective capabilities for those healthy cells. So more cancer cells died, less healthy cells died in a Petri dish. And so we start to get these parallels, and that's why we're excited about doing this hsCRP study.
Okay, so me as a non-scientist, I'm just going to say that this points to intelligence. This points to an intelligence that's in the molecule that we might not be able to explain, but if it can and does differentiate between certain cells, and there is an intelligence there that is undeniable.
Well, so I think we can, like, the current explanation, right? So science works with explanation test, like theory or whatever. The current explanation is, and we've had conversations with you before about what it does in the mitochondria. We're not going to kind of belabor that, but the mitochondria of cancer cells function differently. And so if we're impacting in a positive way the mitochondria of healthy cells, that same mechanism could be different in cancer cells, and we would expect it to be different. And therefore, that could give us some understanding of why there would be increased efficacy against cancer cells and protective effects for the healthy cells.
Great explanation. I appreciate the thoroughness of the scientist here. And I'm going to go back to the remote viewer that viewed it and said, not knowing what it is, there's an intelligence to it. It knows where to go in the body. So this is purely, this is not scientific, but I'm just going to point to and the intuitives that have shared this and the psychics that have viewed this have all shared the basic same language. It knows where to go, and it increases the light wherever it goes. So that's what I'm going to just say. This is, and the reason why I'm driving this point home is because this is my experience. Like, and I feel it. Like I can feel it, and this is the compound effect that I'm feeling. Anyways, Miss Patty, where can people go? Take a look around, and you guys are very generous. You're giving our audience a lot of savings, which we really appreciate. Where can they go, and how can they order?
Well, let me just have 1 second on the word intuition again, because you keep stimulating my brain, which isn't hard, to go back to my non-scientific, far smaller words than Chris is using. I do the more generic description, but I've always called ESS60 the intuitive molecule, because we have seen changes from head to toe. It has totally different effects in every person that tries it. And in my opinion, not scientific, but it probably is coincidentally scientific, that the molecule goes to where you're the weakest, and it repairs, perhaps, the mitochondria in that area. And the mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell. The brain has 2 million mitochondria in every cell. So people that are forgetting things, you talked about, the forgetting of seniors. I can't use medical words, but you can. My mom's 96. She is so sharp, it's scary. And all of her friends are failing around her, but she's not. And every time we talk, she's like, yeah, I'm kind of bored. My friends are all, but just finished a novel. And boy, it was amazing. 300 pages. She's 96.
Let me ask you this. I got to ask you this. I had a feeling when I saw that photo of your mom. Does she does she like the juicy novels, like the juicy romance novels? Is that her?
God, I didn't ask.
I have a feeling. I'm just saying I have a feling.
That's funny. That's more part of your cuteness. Yeah. Well, I love the natural way that what we put out, we draw to us. And I just want to say that I went on a trip last week. My family has evolved to the point of solutions, SOUL, solutions. We live in Camirado, and we're a sanctuary knucklehead state. I live near Boulder, where it's so sanctuaried out that I won't even elaborate. But our schools are full of sexually inappropriate people, from the principal down to a few of the teachers, blended with beautiful teachers that are wonderful. My kids just bought a huge RV, and they're going to homeschool, and they're calling it road school. Now they just sold their RV, and the guy's picking it up today to homeschool his kids. My son-in-law just flew to Florida to pick up their bigger, stronger, more incredible, I'm going to be so jealous, RV, because they're homeschooling their kids around America. This is a solution when you're living in a place that is just under frequency, under communist takeover. I'm sorry to say it. I mean, it's hopeless to live in Colorado right now with consciousness. And I live in a town where it's really challenging for me. But I live on the internet and the phone. All my friends are somewhere else. But I just found out the other grandparents just bought an RV, and they're going to winter in Florida. And I'm like, I'm going to be so lonely here.
It sounds like you have a gypsy family. It's like
they weren't
proper gypsies.
No, they weren't. And our RVs are not exactly camping; they're severe glamping. And instead of being jealous, I invested. I got myself an RV, and all of a sudden, I was just completely overwhelmed because it's computerized. It's this, it's that. So last week, I took myself on a trip after taking a lot of this, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, and I watched 15 videos from the guy that I bought the camper from, and I just sat there focused. And then I went back to sleep and dreamt about, okay, I can do that, I can do this, I got this now. Woke up at 7 and watched the other 15. I drove out of my driveway after 30 videos of something I knew nothing about, and I was in panic. I was like, I'd really rather take my car to northern Wyoming for this trip to see a friend in her way out in the middle of nowhere homestead. And I know I'm taking more time because she said, okay, where can they buy it? But to me, this is so important. When I backed out of my driveway, I had tears because I went, oh my God, old dogs can learn new tricks. I freaking am leaving with confidence. And I spent 3 days in my camper and everything I needed. I was like, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, I got this. Boom, boom. Oh, it was so nice. I just felt on top of it. Now, a year ago, I probably could have done it because I've been on Evo 6 years, every single day. And nothing stops me, but I didn't really think I could do this, but I did it. And as I'm driving away going, oh my God, I'm so proud. I just was flying down the highway and this purple Volkswagen hot car flew around me. And I went, oh my God, did I really do that? And I'm just going to admit, I do have a little crush on a ridiculously hot man. And it was him that passed me. And I went, how do I do this? Like, what an omen as I'm leaving town that Mr. Hottie Latino passes me. And I was like trying to get my phone and hold on to the steering wheel of this huge 24-foot long thing. And I literally pulled over because I said, I'm going to serve myself. I pulled the camper over and I put my blinker on and I grabbed my phone and slowly found his number, and I called him and I said, hey, did you just pass a white camper? Are you speeding on Highway 66? And with his Spanish accent, he's like, well, I am on Highway 66 and I am going rather fast. And I said, do you remember the white camper you just passed? And he goes, yeah. And I said, that was me, amigo. Oh, God, Pati. So I was just sitting there in heaven on the side of the highway, just not only going 30 videos, I've got this, but I also intuitively and romantically attracted this wonderful speeder to pass me and remind me that life is so good. And I had on Brian McKnight, which is just ridiculous romance music. And I'm, I don't even want to sing it, but, and I go all the way to Wyoming. And because I had a brand new stereo, I forgot to do the video on how do you eject. So I pull over and I pull out my manual, damn thing. The photo was nothing like what I was looking at. So for 6 hours up and 6 hours back, days later, I listened to Brian McKnight tell me, I want your body. So,
I once went on a trip. I rented a truck, like a nice, like a pickup truck. We went on a trip to Colorado. It was an 18-hour trip. So here's the thing. As soon as I pulled in the driveway, when I picked up the rental, the radio went out. And we were scheduled to go early in the morning. So there's nothing I could do about it. I checked everything. Not kidding you. For 18 hours the next day, damn radio didn't work. Not a single time. Nothing. It was silence in the truck, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah. When we arrived in Colorado, kid you not, we pull into the driveway of our rental, the radio starts working again. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. I love the story, by the way. And we're going to have to follow up on the romance thing here with Mr. Hottie.
Well, I think Italian Stallion's probably got a line at the stable. So, it's been really fun. I'm not holding my breath, but it was a great moment. The texting back and forth was really great.
Well, you got to go for it, Miss Patty. You just got to go for it.
I'm not holding back, and I got to tell you.
I believe you. I believe you.
We may know where that.
In the hole. Wait, I gave him some Evo. Actually, I gave him the capsules because he travels a lot, and capsules are for traveling because they won't take it out of your luggage. But
John, we may know.
He's hooked on Evo.
Your vibe about the juicy novel, we may know where that's coming from now.
Yeah, I picked it up intuitively. Probably, I now know what's happening here. Well, we're still going to follow up here, so just be prepared. Oh, so I'm going to lead back just to my original question. Where can people get the wonderful Evo, and how can they also save?
Well, they can become my friend and ask real nicely, and I'll give them a small sample. But when they want it for sure for themselves to be shipped to their house so quickly it'll make your head spin, they go to our name and your name. It's C60 Evo, like evolution, not like Ebo, but EVO /inspired channel. And they're going to see a beautiful landing page. Just
So
read
sorry, that's c60evo.com/inspired channel. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm so wound up on I Want Your Body, so I got to get that out of my head now. Oh, can you imagine Brian McKnight for 6.5 hours? I mean, I
can
got
now.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it, I'm sweating again. So when they go to your landing page, there is a wonderful secret code that's only yours and for your listeners. And they're going to be able to get 10% off at checkout. But we also have all these other great discounts, such as sign up for a monthly subscription, which you can cancel if you don't love it. Most people don't. And you get 20% off every order, and we ship it to you regularly. So it's the easiest thing, aside from taking it, which is a spoon and a bottle early in the day, so you can be amazing all day long. But we also have great deals on all these different sets, like the starter set is our face serum, which is a top seller. Look at me. Here's my empty bottle. Here's my new one that I'm going to crack into. The olive oil and the face serum, #1 sellers. We do starter sets, 4 ounce, 8 ounce. We have 3 different flavors. We have wonderful skin cream, but there's gift sets, which is 2 or more items. We take 15% off of each item if you buy 2 or more in our sets. We've got like 10-piece sets also if you want to get the whole collection. The biggest deal is 25% off if you get a case. And we sell a lot of cases. But no matter what you get, definitely use the code for Inspired Channel, which you'll only find on his link there, and it'll give you another 10% off at checkout. So we have a lot of great deals. Most every product, if you say, I want 2 bottles, we'll offer you a third at half off pretty much any day of the week, even in the middle of the night, because we're sleeping, but our website is awake. So we've got a brand new website about to go public. It's going to look really gorgeous, but right now it looks just fine. And people are really showing up for it. They're buying it for their pets. You mentioned your dog, and I will mention my feral cat. The cat is so out there. He goes, "Meow." But I let him in and I give him the Evo, and he just lived through the winter in Colorado because I gave him Evo and base organic cat food. And I don't know the cat. He's like a feral, but we're slowly getting to know each other. But he's still kind of a whack job. But on Evo, he's a surviving whack job. And I only say that because he hisses between every "Meow." So other than that, he's alive, which is amazing. And he's strong. He's out there chasing birds in the yard right now. But, I've always said with men and animals, if you feed them, they will come.
Well, there's some truth to that. And if you ever, every now and then call them cute, right, Chris, it doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. Well, nobody called me cute. So,
Well, we are married men, so you got to, the whole thing goes in the other direction too. We got to be careful here. We also can't flirt, especially on camera. The internet never forgets. You should know that.
Well, I failed. I called you both cute, but it was in a moment of appropriateness, and I'm pretty authentic with it. I really think you have one of the kindest faces on the air. And if Chris is really in his mid-50s, and look at his skin, not bad,
Yep. I agree.
I'm 105, so I feel like I'm cooking with gas. But the thing that's important that you said that I do want to reiterate is it's preventative. So what we're doing is preparing ourselves for the chemtrails they're going to dump today and the food and the water that they're going to dump. And you ask Chris, if you had all the money, what would you do? Well, ask me, and I'm going to say I would take the fluoride out of the water system and put the olive oil Evo in it, even though it's not water soluble. Maybe we'll drop it from airplanes and disperse it through the sky. But if we could get this to all the people in the world, I don't think we'd have the issues we do. Frankly, if we started with the Congress and the Senate, I've offered before, I'll give them all a 4-ounce bottle, not 8. But it'll clear them enough to maybe vote properly and let America be free. I do stay positive because I think we're getting closer every day. But I also have C60 Evo brain, so I stay positive. I don't get foggy. And when people piss me off, I just duck. I'm like, yeah, take that somewhere else. I'm in a good mood.
There you go. Miss Patty Greer, Chris Burris, thank you so much for joining us again today. from C60 Evo and Inspired Tribe, please hop over to c60evo.com/inspired channel. Check it out. Always lead with your intuition and see what it does for you. And congratulations to the winners also. So thank you again for being here with us and Inspired Tribe. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon.